So to understand here the Pesach Sheini, so three Akdamas. The first Akdama was in Avodas Adam between Chodesh Nisan, Chodesh Adishan, and Chodesh Sheini, which is Iyar. And that is that Chodesh Adishan is Sur Meirah, is Kafia, Chodesh Iyar, Sfiras HaOmer, is Birur, not breaking, but refining. Is Hapche. The second Akdama, which we did also, is the difference in spheres, meaning what Hashem is revealing during this time, what dominates all of existence, what midah, and that is that Chodesh Adishan is Malchus, and the second month from below to above, the first month from below to above, and the second month is Yesod. Yesod is not merely one level above, but it's an entirely different order of being, entirely different category. The number 7. As we all know, that Malchus is all about the engagement with Biyah, it creates Biyah, and Yesod is really the end of Atzilus. So the Tzemach Tzedek explains, this is all based on a Maimon that's a Tzemach Tzedek and a Torah. So there he explains that these two introductions, these two facts, one in the square brackets, Inyan shall nissen ve'ir b'avodas Adam, what it means in Avodah. 2, Inyan b'sfiris, and what they are in Sfiris. Each month is a different Sfira. There are 12 months and only 10 Sfiris. That's another discussion. So anyway, Shayachim Zelazeh, they're all connected. They are two things that are connected. Like the Rabbi explains on the Maimah, in the dream of Yosef, that they are gathering sheaves. They're all there gathering sheaves, and they bow down to him. So the whole Inyan explains of the gathering of the sheaves is the elevation of the Tzutz Kedusha in the world. So there is the Shvatim, they were involved in this, in his dream. And what's their role? What's the role of the Shvatim? This is critical. The Shvatim, who they were, be'emes, ve'etzem in Olam, in Biyah, which means that their connection to higher is through Malchus, not the higher spheres of Atzilus, but only Malchus. The Malchus is the interface between Atzilus and Biyah. So they are the Birur Rishon. That's the first level of engagement in elevating the world. It's mitzad the world itself. It's called the Birur Rishon, the first refinement, because it's Urak Bittul Hayesh. So there Avodah is Bittul Hayesh, Dugmas Iskafia. Yesh means I'll never escape that. I'll never escape their sense of Yeshes, of independence. So what's the solution? Break it. So constant Dugmas Iskafia. That's the Avodah of the Shvatim. And that's why within the Avos themselves, in contrast to Yosef at any rate, so the Shvatim, by choice, choose to stay away as much as possible from temptation, because that's their job, is to stay away. And they became shepherds. But Yosef, he is the Mishnah Lamelech, he's the viceroy. Because what's his birur? Va'birur shadei Yosef atzadik, and he's Yesod, which is why he's tested there. In the Inyan of Yesod, the parallel in the human body is the reproductive organ. That's where he is tested. That place is the place of intimate connection with another. And that's exactly the whole Avodah of Yosef, is an intimate engagement in the world. And only he can do it. So that's because he's talking Neshama Atzilus, is Yesod. So he's the Birur Sheini. That's the higher Birur Sheyi and Nichla Balikus, that to engage the world, engage it intimately and elevate it. Whereas the Avodah of the Shvatim is what? Is Kafia. So that's the Inyan of Bittul B'Metzias, Dugmas Sapcha. That's a higher level of Bittul, not Bittul Hayesh. Bittul Hayesh is, as we just said a moment ago, the constant struggle to break the Yesh. That's not the avodah of Yosef. The avodah of Yosef is his hapcha, is the transformation of the very drives and so on in Kedusha, as we see borne out in his extraordinary life. That's the second Akdom, and as we just explained, the two are related. The avodah of his hapcha is related to Yesod, and the avodah of his kafia to Malchus. That clear? Very clear, yeah. Akdom Agimel, so that's the Tzemach Tzedek continues the third Akdom. Inyan Pesach Meloshen Dilug Ukvitze. It's all to understand Pesach Sheini. That's the way we go. So Pesach means to skip. Huh? Yeah. So what does this mean? What does it mean to skip over? This is a very lofty revelation. Sheini cannot go through the usual channels, the orderly, structured channels. Because they're not caring for it. So it comes to us in a way that bypasses the whole system. Because it's not part of the system. And can't be contained by the system. As explains in the Likutei Torah, the whole Inyan of Pesach, it's a radical gilui that's higher than Ishtalshalos. So the Maimer that Tzemach Tzedek continues, having said these three Akdomas, Pesach Sheini. So likewise, Pesach Sheini, continuing now the last point that he just said, Dilug, Pesach Sheini is also a Dilug. Beyond Ishtalshalos. So what then is the difference between the first and the second? And the difference between the first Pesach and the second is this follows: the mokim in the place, as it were, Inyan, and what is it addressing? That this dilug, where is this dilug happening? So let's continue here. Now explain. Explain as a result of the two Akdamas he just gave. Namely, the Pesach edition is all about what? Iskafia, Malchus, Pel Mamish, behavior. Pesach Sheini is Yesod, the Midas, Yisapcha. So now we're talking about a dilug, both a dilug, but in different avodas legamre. A dilug in avodah Pesach Rishon, that's Pesach Rishon, and then there's the dilug, the skipping, the radical avodah within Pesach Sheini, which he now spells out. The Pesach Rishon, the first Pesach, it says, Pesach Havayala Pesach. Where is this radical change happening? Over the doorway. What's the doorway? The doorway is the interface between the house and the outside world. So what's that? The parallel in Sfiris? Malchus. Malchus is a God's word, the interface between the inner divine and creation. It's what produces creation. Where is the radical change happening? It's happening in the doorway, over the doorway, Sfiris Malchus at Malchus. Which means, Poshet, that starting with Pesach, Jewish behavior became radically different. They were doing one thing, and the next day doing something else, radically different. A different lifestyle, not internal change, but lifestyle. Benefesh ha'adam, what is benefesh ha'adam? This is the lower level of awe, the lower level of fear, which is behavioral. This is the gate. So there's several gates. There's the lower gate and the higher gate. So the lower gate to the divine is Pel Mamish. Stop sinning. Shehi ha'shodesh the sur mirah. That's the source. This gate or this awe, this fear, yirat, the lower fear, the lower awe. That's the inspiration for sur mirah. That's the avodah of what? Of Pesach Rishon, radical change on the behavioral level that is inspired by all Kabbalah's oil. Very different to that is Pesach Sheini. Whereas where is the radical change happening in Pesach Sheini, which is already the second month, which is already the avodah of Yosef, the avodah of Yesod, the avodah of Yishapcha, B'Sfiras HaYesod. Inyan, the benefesh Admo. What is this? What is the parallel of Yesod? It's an intimate connection, or iskashrus, bonding with the Eibishter, va'ava. The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya that the greater the ava, the greater it's mar bezera. It increases the degree of the engagement. The greater the desire, the more cheshek. So the more is the gilui. The more is the bond. So here we're talking about an emotional relationship, not behavioral. So all of a sudden we get now Pesach Sheini, and why has to be explained. This radical shift, not only behavioral, that was already the Inyan of what? Pesach Rishon. But here's a radical change even in the midas, which needs to be explained, because mainly behavior is poshet. You're going from Avedas to mitzvahs. So that's clear. But there is Ava. So where's the radical change in the Ava? There's a love already. You saw it already is bonding. So this the Maimon will explain. Or his base. So this is basically the Rebbe is summarizing the Maimon of the Tzemach Tzedek. Now he's adding the Pesach Sheini, we got a Pesach Rishon. That the Mile of Pesach Sheini, Pesach Rishon, who lo yirak shad dilug the Pesach Sheini nimshach b'mbokim naili yoser. It's not only the address of the dilug. Where is this radical change happening? So we said till now, in Pesach Sheini, the radical change is happening in a higher place within the person, not just his behavior. Done with that, he's now doing the right thing. Now it's a question of internal transformation. So that was said by the Tzemach Tzedek, that the dilug is happening where? In a more subtle, higher place within the person. The Rebbe is saying, we could say, so this is what it is, namely, shegam hadilug atzmoi hu dilug na'il yosef. The actual dilug is higher. It's not just the address where it's happening, but the nature of the dilug is higher, which you can appreciate also, as we just said before. It's a lot easier. Behavior is easy. Okay, stop sinning. A bit of discipline and a bit of fear, the lower fear, which there are many levels of lower fear. One of them is just contemplating the hell we're going to face for sinning. That's good enough. If we just be cognizant of that, to behave as we should, we're going to burn in hell for this. So I don't want to do that. So just stop sinning. So that's pretty easy because the stakes are high. But here we're talking about he's loving God. He's in a relationship. A radical change there is much more difficult. Much more difficult. So the dilig itself is higher and greater. But let's what the Maimon says. Now, in simple language, it's for the Baal Tshuva to do tshuva. It's pretty straightforward. For tzaddik to do tshuva, for what? It's beautiful. Tshuva means radical change. So how do you do that? And what's wrong with where I am? And lo pashut. So this understood also from Pesach Sheini, the Pirish HaPoshet to Pesach Sheini, who now that I was giving a new nuance in Pesach, the meaning of the words Pesach Sheini. The simple meaning is looking at the words very simply. It's not only that this jumping is happening in a second place, the address is different, but the Pesach is different. The jumping itself is different, which is the point he's saying now. That it's a different kind, a different order of dilug, much higher than the dilug going from sin to mitzvahs, practically. Follow? That the Pesach is Sheini, not just where it's going. The Pesach Gufa is the nature of the dilug is of a higher order, not just the address where this change is happening. Yeah, we're clear. Dilug Naili Yois, the dilug itself is higher, dilug the Pesach Rishon, than the radical change of Pesach Rishon. Now to reconcile this with the Tzemach Tzedek statement, what's the question? Let's see. The Pesach Sheini, who shall dilug the Pesach Sheini nimshach badarge the Sheini. The Tzemach Tzedek doesn't speak about this. He doesn't talk about the dilug being high. He just says the address is a higher address. Before we're talking about your behavior, now we're talking about your midas. So it's kind of asking, why doesn't the Tzemach Tzedek make our point? Answer, because it's really, he is saying it. Because the Maila of the Dilig of Pesach Sheini, as we just pointed out now, that the very Dilig itself is of a higher order. Nire Gambazeh, where is it seen? In as much the address, as we explained later in Sifei, the fact that there can be it's implied, you're saying. The fact that there can be a change in the midas, that means that it's coming from a higher dilig. That was the Rebbe saying, why didn't Tzemach Tzedek spell it out? Because it's implied. We're just laying it bare. But the Tzemach Tzedek saying and telling us that Pesach Sheini means a dilug in a higher level of the nefesh, in the midas, that means it comes from a higher place. That's the Rebbe saying it. Yeah. Continuing, the Mashakos, Rapiza Yeshlakasha Rabbi Ranal. That's Tzemach Tzedek. So now we can connect this explanation of Tzemach Tzedek, namely, the Pesach Sheini is a second and higher level in Avodah. Is the Pesach Rishon that comes after Pesach Rishon, as we said. First, you got to get the behavior straight, then we can start talking about your feelings. So that's Tzemach Tzedek. So now we're going to explain that with what? Inyan the Pesach Sheini Kamesha B'Pashtus. Now we'll understand the Tzemach Tzedek's beer, that we're talking about the Midas and the Avodah of Yosef and the Avodah of Yishap and so on, with Pesach Sheini as it is on a simple level. What's Pesach Sheini? Shutisham Bikra. Shotikun Vashlom Balemishla Hikir Pesach. What's Pesach Sheini? It's a second opportunity for someone who didn't bring a Korban Pesach. Okay, we'll look at all this later. He's asked the Pesach Sheini. What's the connection? Because this the Pesach Sheini Misak and the Mashla Machsorin. This the Pesach Sheini can fix the lack of the one. The Zesh like he could Pesach, the one who didn't bring it round one. Mipnei Shagili the Pesach Sheini or Dilig Shalei Badroga. Now there's a question is, you didn't do it. You didn't do it. Finished. We'll try next year. How can you fix something that in the past? It's gone. Goodbye, Charlie. Finished. Like any mitzvah. You didn't put on film today, you can't put on twice tomorrow. It's not going to help. You didn't bring the Korban Pesach, so next year bring the Korban Pesach. What is it going to fix the past? That's diluk. It's going to be on the system. It's the only mitzvah that's like that. I mean, shuv in general. But it's the only mitzvah that's mamish diluk. So we see that it's a higher Inyan Pesach tradition. Because it can fix the past. Lost opportunity. Next time, all right? Next reincarnation or next year. No, this can fix and reach back to the past. So that's the Inyan. We see that in Pashtus. Why? Because it doesn't have any limits, the revelation of Pesach Sheini, not even the limits of time. We're stretching back and going to time. It doesn't have any limits. It's even higher than the dilug, which is Pesach Rishon, which is also with on Akbalas. Pesach Rishon is also a dilug. He says higher than that dilug. Why? Because if we didn't do it, we can go back and fix it. He's talking fafan like the Rebbe said. It's never too late. That's the power of Pesach. So we see, just saying now, that we see in Pashtus Inyan, the uniqueness of Pesach, L'havin Pesach Sheini, that you're able to go back and fix something that was missing. Even what you're missing was something extraordinary. Even that can be fixed. So we have to understand how this all happens. Ois Gimel. You want to learn the hardest now or later? Chaim is the president, no? It's the two big artists, 18 and 19.
I'm not the president. I'm the op-ed. I'm like this. I'm the mother-in-law. I asked one time my mother-in-law, I said, what should I do? She says, you do, and I'll tell you what's wrong.
Yeah. Chaim is the leader of the opposition. In other words, no?
What's the answer?
So we're 18, we do the orders or not now?
We learn to Paseder.
What's the Seder?
You finish the Ha'ara, you learn it now. You want to learn it at the end with your Sikkum?
That's what I'm asking. Okay,
I'm
so let's
saying.
look at that. Ha'ara 18. I didn't look at it before, so maybe I learned this maybe before, but not, I have to apologize, didn't have a chance to prepare. Ha'ara 18, what do you say in the Pnim? I just say it's significant. She just said, so the last part you just said that we're connecting the whole thing in a Pesach Sheini, which is a higher avodah than Pesach Rishon. This can be said from the fact that it can fix Pesach Rishon. Rei Pesachim, see the Gemara there, and see by the Ruch and the Kutesiches as follows. So the Gemara brings a machlekes there. Whether it's a regel b'fnei atzmai or not, is it an independent on Yom Tov or not? Pesach Sheini. All enough minutes there. So Shagam the Das Rabbi, even according to Rabbi V'cheinu halacha, and that's the halacha. So Pesach Sheini regel b'fnei atzmai. That's an independent Yom Tov, and here we're stressing that it's what? It's the question is whether there's three shittas. Takant, we're not going to that now. Does it takanta the Rishon? Does it fix the first one? Shleim Musa Derishan, does it complete the first one? Or is it the regel b'fnei atzmai independent Yom Tov? And that's a Rabbi. And Nafkamina is a Gershon, is guy in between, or a cotton share. Higdil, if it's only fixing and completing the first one, so if you weren't obligated round one, you have no shaykhs to round two. But if it's regel b'fnei atzmai independent Yom Tov, a person came by mitzvah between Pesach and Pesach Sheni, or a Gershon is guy, you're mechuyev, and that's the halacha. The halacha is like a Rabbi. So l'chayra, it's a new Inyan, the new regel. So l'chayra, here we're saying it's all about fixing Pesach Rishon. She says even the Rebbe's masking, because even according to the Rebbe that Pesach Sheini is a b'fnei atzmai in Yonai shall Pesach Sheini utashlim l'chasar the Rishon. Still, the end of the day, its content is it has this aspect of a new Yom Tov, but it does fix the lack of the previous one. Why? What's the biggest raya? Shalachein misha. Even the Rabbi says it's independent Yom Tov. If you did Pesach Rishon, you don't bring Pesach Sheini. So Rabbi is saying that it has the quality, which is our point. It's something higher than Pesach Rishon, and that's why it's able to fix the past Pesach Rishon. He's just being, he's explaining this is true.
You're being rewarded for missing out because you're getting to do a higher.
That's true. You hit on something. The the person does an aved or whatever. You sin, but in the day, through your tshuva, you're even hiding it's in chanam. Not to be abused, but that's true. That's true. Okay, out of 19. What do you say in the Pnim? He just said that Pesach Sheni has no limitations at all, not even the limitations of. It's even higher than the radical change of Pesach Rishon. Now this will give insight. Shaladas Rebbe, according to Rebbe again, that's a regel b'fnei atzmai. So according to him, therefore, the halacha is, as opposed to the other two views, a Gershon is guy in Pesach Rishon or Pesach Sheni. If someone converts in between, maybe Pesach Sheni. He does bring it, even though. Even according to Rabbi, obviously when's the main time to do it? Yeah, the iked is the first one. In brackets again, the Pesach Shein Yodak Tashlumin Lachsor the Pesach Rishon Kebarka that we said in the previous order. So for us, then the Ger, the Pesach Rishon, Lahaya Sheichling in a Pesach, he wasn't Jewish. Yeah. So we're going to explain this. It's a bit of a conundrum. On the one hand, Pesach Sheini is what? Fixing Pesach Rishon. On the other hand, he says it's a regular b'fnei atzmai, which is why the ger brings the korban. But he had no shaykhs to the first one. So now we have the answer, these two components. Since Pesach Sheini is such a radical revelation, that it's higher even than the limitations of Pesach Rishon, then the ability to complete that which was lacking, it's even for someone. It wasn't not mechuyev. Even such a person, Pesach Sheini can grant him the Maila. That's how great Pesach Sheini is. That even if you weren't even mechuyev in Pesach Hadishin, it wasn't even a chsaron. You still have the Inyan, huh? He does, same thing. Same thing. Rabbi would say by mitzvah boy also the same thing. He wasn't mechuyev, because under bar mitzvah, and yet Pesach Sheini is such a radical revelation that it gives you the Inyan of Pesach, even though he had no shaykhs to it. And on another level, it's only to fix for the one who didn't do it. So this is the point that he's saying in the minor. Okay.